My presentation will focus on gender equality and the social inclusion seal, or GESIS. But before starting to present you about the GESIS, I'm going to provide you with a general background about gender and energy in Mozambique. So, regarding on general background in political environment, in Mozambique, the government approved the National Electrification Strategy in 2018, which is being implemented through a Pro Energia program, aiming to reach universal electricity access by 2030, which is aligned with the SDG 7. So this project will expand the opportunity, infrastructure, and also services in the on the off-grid energy in Mozambique to improve access to energy to all households in the country. So to implement this national electrification strategy, the government also approved the first regulation on access to off-grid energy in Mozambique through the Decree 93/2021, which are creating open spaces to the private operator providing energy services in the off-grid areas in Mozambique. And also, the government approved last year the electricity law, which emphasized the relevance of local content plan to promote the social development in the community that the private operators are providing the energy services. In the gender component, in Mozambique, we have the national gender policy and its implementation strategy that guide all the intervention in public side to mainstreaming the gender action at national level. So regarding the energy sector, last month, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resource approved the gender strategy to the energy and mineral resources sector, which provide the guidelines about how at national level the private and the public institution can mainstreaming gender and social inclusion standard in the energy sector. So those policies and regulation are being implemented in our country to ensure universal access to energy by 2030. Although, if we do not recognize and address the deficits within the country, which our country is composed by heterogeneous groups in different communities with different needs and also social status that will need to be counted to ensure that every community and group can have access to energy. And also, if we do not recognize that women, men, and some social groups are affected differently by energy poverty according to their social status, gender roles, responsibility. And lastly, if we do not address the power inequality relations that determine and also affect determine the social positions of certain groups within the country, we can fail to achieve our ambition to ensure that all community, all households have access to energy by 2030. So in terms of data to show where we are in terms of access to energy in Mozambique, among 6.8 million households existing in the country, 40% have access to energy in on and off-grid areas. Although most of households that have access to energy are concentrated in the urban area, as the data can show you the reality in Mozambique between the rural and urban areas in the country. Related to the household headed by women and men in terms of access to energy, data can show us that the household headed by men are more likely to have access to energy. And in terms of capacity to afford the energy solution in the off-grid areas, Brillo programs carried out the end study last year that showed that men are more likely to purchase the solar home systems than women, who are more likely to afford the improving cooking solutions. Regarding the representation of women in the workforce composition in the energy sector, data can show that women are underrepresented in the energy sector, and particularly when we come to the technical and leadership position that can allow women and certain groups to influence the decision processes in the energy sector. So, JESIS, the Gender Seal and the Gender Equality and the Social Inclusion Seal is a part of the regulatory framework or being designed by government in cooperation with the civil society organization and NGOs such as the Brillo program and also CESET program, which is designed by multi-dimension task force composed by National Energy Regulatory Authority, Brillo program, EDM. EDM is the public and national company that's providing energy in the off-grid areas in Mozambique. We also have the CESET and also Women in Business program as a member of the task force that is designing the gender seal. The main question can be, why JESIS in the energy sector in Mozambique? We understand that we have this political environment created by the government, but the seal will also contribute to drive to the social change and in the community level, and contribute to achieve a higher level of gender equality and social inclusion in the rural and peri-urban areas, safeguarding the central role of the private operators in off-grid areas in Mozambique, because we know that the operators are more focused to provide the energy and also to looking for the profits, not to develop not to look for the social aspect in the community. So our assumption on that is improving women's living and working condition is a step towards to equal rights and also a fair society in Mozambique. We also understand that through implementing the JESIS, the government and also the private sector can contribute to ensure that no one is left behind during this process of energy transition in Mozambique. So we also understand that the seal can contribute for women and most disadvantaged groups empowerment in Mozambique to access to energy benefits. And lastly, we also understand that this combination between the SDG 7 and 5 can also contribute to monitor the impact of the SDG 7 on human rights. So what is the gender seal? The gender seal is basically norm that are regulating the activities of the operators in off-grid energy sector to achieve the greater gender equality and the social inclusion standard in the community that they are serve. And our objective in general is to ensure that all project investments and also infrastructure and supply in the off-grid areas community can contribute to develop the society in the human rights perspective. And this seal is designed to be applied in the off-grid sector, and particularly by green mini-grids and solar home systems. In terms of how gender seal functional, the idea of the group that is designing the seal is GESIS is designed to reward and stimulate private operators in the energy sector in three main stages of progression towards gender equality and the social inclusion standard. And we can see here we have 4 stages of progression. The first one is related to the commitment of the private operators, the commitment to mainstreaming the gender equality and the social inclusion standards in their business models during the registration by the government authorities. If the operators decide to adhere to the gender seal, he is allowed to use the seal, but in the white color represented high started through the commitment on GESIS. Then after the operator committed to implement the gender equality and the social inclusion in their business model, the operator should design its gender action plans, which should be aligned with the indicators from the GESIS to ensure that he will create internally and external changes while he is providing energy services at the community level. So after that, if the gender action plan designed by the operator, approved by the government authorities, the operators start to implement it, and we didn't define the validated time to progress from the initial stage to the second one, that is practitioner. So all of these stages are linked with the incentives, to make sure that to stimulate the operators that are mainly focused to provide the energy services to also invest their resource to create social changes in the community that they are serving. So in terms of changes that we expected to see through implementing the GESIS, we expected to see internally changes that is related to the creating a conducive environment within the companies to make sure that all the employees, male and female, and also other status of employees can be included, and also safeguarding their rights within the companies. And the other component is related to the community change. And we understand that if the operators combine their central roles to provide the energy and also invest the resource to create internal and external change, we will add value in their operation towards to achieve the human rights and also gender equality standards in the community that they are serving. So the gender seal, it has indicators framework that was designed inspired by the SDG indicators framework, which is currently the international standards to monitor the human rights development. And the indicators framework are organized by 3 main pillars, as the table can show you now, and we also, it's disaggregated in 12 areas related to the different areas that access to energy can impact it directly and also contribute to reduce the vulnerability of the community. Now, where we are, we already designed the GESIS concept paper, and we also presented it for the government institution to get the validation. We also held a consultation meeting with the private operators and also organizations working on women's and human rights to ensure that the voice of community can also included in the process of designing the seal. And we also are working with the K government institutions like INI, Miremi, and also other institutions to revise the indicators framework to ensure that it can be aligned with the national statistic system. In terms of next steps, we understand that we need to develop the implementation tools that can be used to monitor and also to evaluate the operators to award the incentives aligned with the gender JESIs. We need also to design these incentives package and also to do the advocacy work to raising funding even by government or donor side to finance the incentives package. We also understand that we need to still work to design the reporting systems that can allow that all relevant stakeholders can access to the information and also can allow the government to capture the impact created by operators in off-grid and included this information in the government report at national level. One important step that we need also to follow is related to pilot this norm to gather evidence, especially for the private sector, to show them that if the companies apply to the gender equality and the social inclusion, it can keeping growing economically, but also strengthening their companies through to integrate different social standards in their business model. Because during the consultation meeting, when one of the key questions came from the operators is how we can prove them that it is works to integrated gender equality and the social inclusion standards in their business model. So we need also to develop, to pilot, to produce evidences to show them that it works. And then based on the result from the pilot process, if it needed, we are going to revise our concept and also the implementation tool. So the gender seal and also other initiatives, they have specific challenges in the energy sector. And in that case, for us, the institutional coordination is coming off one of the challenges to make sure that we can, all the government and the private sector institutions needed to be actively participating in the implementation of the JESIs, also reporting and evaluated the operators to award the incentives associated with the gender seal. Also, as I mentioned before, to demonstrate the impact coming from implementing the gender and as well as the data collection. And thank you very much.